Hello everyone. Welcome to my 2025 Christmas cruise. I got a few errands to run today, and I thought I'd get the old Chevy out and run them and just cruise around a little bit and see what we got going on. So if you want to cruise along, hop on aboard and let's take a cruise. I think I'll make a couple stops first. Sometimes it's like the dam breaks. We'll go minutes without a bit of traffic, and it seems like when I get to the end of my driveway, here they come. With all the celebrations and everything going on, I haven't done any riching to the truck. So my window over here is still cracked. Although I've got a brand new window pane sitting in my shop. I've had it there for a couple of weeks. Just hadn't found that round to it yet. Let's see, today probably in the mid-30s to high 30s, but for about a couple days earlier in the week we were down in the low teens, and even when the sun came up, it warmed everything up. We never got above freezing. So we've had our taste of winter now. We had a little bit of a snow, but it didn't linger. Then at night, after about an hour of sun, it was all gone. Anyway, but we're down south. That's how we like our snow. Now, if I had a snowcat or a snowmobile or something else that I could play around in the snow, I'd have a different opinion of it. I did live up north for a while and worked, so I know how much fun it can be to be in the snow. But we don't get enough down here to justify, any kind of expensive snow toys. Shame in a way, I guess. They are fun. You parked there. 33,605. Yep. All right, we fueled up. Put about 8 gallons. I could have went about 10 miles from here and got that gas 15 cents cheaper a gallon. But as it is, I didn't want to go back into the high traffic. Less than $2. It's $1 something. I can live with it. I may have to change over to that Ranco valve because my hillbilly engineered temperature control valve seems to be sticky. I guess I could check it. But it's about to run me out, so I think we're setting good now. A shot of the vitals. How old you all doing? Let's see. We're less than a week from Christmas. Pull that tip knob out some. Get some of that warm air flowing through my heater. Guess I'm going to troubleshoot that, see where it's hanging up. Hope it's pulled out enough. I'll have to make me a stop up here and see what's going on. Yeah, I can get this thing adjusted perfect. No fan. I got the fan off, and I just adjust how much the valve allows of the hot air, hot water. Ooh, what we got here? Yeah. Unavoidable. We had last night. We had a heck of a rainstorm and wind accompanying it, and some of our characters we got set out: Santa Claus, Christmas tree, manger scene. They all got knocked over. That tree back there was knocked over. They encountered some more through here. Bigfoot. Oh, Santa Claus is knocked over. Bigfoot pulling Santa Claus. On the other side, we may have some trees in the way. Do some errands. I've already drank all my lifer juice. feeling some. Let's see if I feel heat at the high setting come up out here. Oh yeah, I'm feeling it. So my hot water must be circulating through that valve, somewhat. Just I've got it pulled out, but as hard as it's pulling, I don't know that that it's not got the valve open. Now you want it to stick some so it doesn't close or open, but this is unusually harder. And like I say, this is my hillbilly engineered heat control valve, so my water control valve. So get up here where I can stop. I'll show you. There's plenty of room for us. Hey, better safe than sorry. Y'all are, according to the analytics on YouTube, are new viewers, and you may not know the history on this truck, so I'll share some with you. Those of you all that watch, subscribe and watch, well, y'all know the story. This is a 49. My wife's uncle bought it brand new. Farm truck. He parked it sometime, the last tag on it. It was tagged, the last registered tag on it was 1969. And according to his son, that's when he parked it in his basement garage. And there it sat till he passed away. His name was Glee. He passed away in the 90s. Sometime in the 90s. I knew Glee. He was a good fellow. But we never talked about this truck. I never knew about it. And what his son, my wife's cousin, did is he titled it in his granddaughter's name, thinking that maybe, she'd want to do something with it when she grew up. Well, when he passed away, they moved it to a barn up in another town, small town, north of here, New Tazewell. And it sat there till I found out about it on a Thanksgiving dinner with her cousin. Sometime in early 2000s. I think 2004 maybe, somewhere around there. So, 2004, 2005. So, when I found out about it, I said, well, yeah, I definitely would like to see it. And so I set up, went and looked at it. And it was in pretty bad shape. The tires were ripped up and flat. Critters had set up housekeeping in the cab. The engine didn't run. Body had dents all over the place. Paint, bad, it looked bad. But I wanted it, so I made an offer. And they mulled it over for a while, for probably about a month, and then we made a deal. So me and my son-in-law and brother-in-law went and picked it up, got it in my shop, and I determined that I had some stuck valves, and I couldn't get them, even though I got them to work, they wouldn't seal. So I pulled the head and found out that just about all the exhaust valves were burned. Were cracked, burnt. So they weren't going to seal. So I sent the head off, had it rebuilt. Replaced all the normal wear and tear stuff, rebuilt the carburetor, the head. Run pretty good, but I couldn't ever keep it from the rust. The gas tank had rusted so bad. So I took it to a radiator shop to have it cleaned out. And they steam cleaned it, dipped it in some of their acid tank. I mean, they did what they should do. And that tank, when I got it back, it cost me about $100. That tank never stopped producing rust. It never stopped. I mean, I was replacing fuel. I put a fuel filter, inline fuel filter, and I was replacing filters weekly. Well, not weekly. Say every couple weeks, because I take it out every Saturday. Cruise like I am now. And so I replaced the gas tank. Haven't had a problem since, knock on wood. Anyway, that engine, the 216 that was in this truck originally, it had 99,000 miles on it. Now, how I knew that was because of the odometer, and also because of the oil change sticker that old Lee had on the truck that showed the mileage. So it was wore out. A 216 engine from 49 with 99,000 miles on it is pretty much wore out. So I got on some websites, got to talking with other people that own these trucks, and put it out that I was looking for an engine. I really wanted a 261 engine, but the ones I would find, they were, even if they needed rebuilt, which pretty much they all did, they're too proud of them. I mean, good golly, you'd think you were buying a modern dadgum engine, the price they were once for those 261s. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look here at my heat valve, and I'll take y'all with me. And we'll get back to the story. Pull up here in the sun. Here we go. All right. Come on with me. All right, let's see. Oh, I forgot I got my wreath here. It's going to be fun working around that. Oh, not too bad. Now here's my heat control valve right here. And it is partially open. Now you see what happens is, with the valve closed, there, that goes into the cab. The valve closed, hot water comes through it and returns to the engine, okay? It does not go to the core. When I start opening the valve, it starts allowing hot water circulate through the core, and that's what it's doing. You can see now it's partially open. I added this spring to kind of keep it more control over it. So it's doing all right. I'm not going to complain. Of course, that's the and this engine, if you those with some knowledge can see that that is not a 216. As part of the story I'm fixing to get to is that I replaced the 216 in here with a 235, a 1954 235. So I'll be right back with you. Let me close this up. All right, so we're back. All right, so it's where I want it, partially open. So where was I? Oh, the 216 that was in here. I still got it, by the way. I decided, of course, I wanted a 261, but I couldn't find one at the price I wanted to pay. And this fella I started talking to up in mid-state Ohio, up there in corn country, he had just pulled a 235 engine out of his truck. He said the number one cylinder was dead, and he'd make me a real good price on that engine. He said it ran good up until that cylinder died. And I said, you know what? A 1954 engine is basically the perfect engine upgrade for a stove boat truck, half-ton truck, 3100 series. What makes it the perfect upgrade is that the fan is at the same height as the 216. Okay. Now later 235s and 261s, the fan believe is higher. You know, I could be mistaken, but the fan is not in the optimum position. It's either too high or too low. Now there's a fellow on eBay, he makes a adapter plate that will move the water pump down, okay, where you can actually use an older water pump to where that centers the fan perfectly like the 54. But the 1954 235 engine is perfect as far as replacement. The only thing that's not perfect, it's kind of an oxymoron. I said it is perfect, now I'm saying there's one thing that's not. But it's not really the engine, it's the bell housing. The bell housing, the stove bolt truck in 54, the bell housings were different in how they bolted to the frame. They changed the frame cross member that the bell housing bolts to. See, the engine and transmission are bolted to the frame at a 3-point connection. You've got the very front of the engine on the front cross member, and you've got the rigid connection to the bell housing to the rear cross member, and that is your motor mounts, okay, for the stove bolt trucks. Well, what you got to do is you got to take the bell housing off your 216 and bolt it straight up to the 235, and it's a direct bolt up. I mean, there's no problem. And the 235's larger clutch assembly by an inch also bolts right in that same bell housing. So there's no, it's basically it's perfect. I mean, that's, you know, you swap your bell housings and you're in like Flynn, buddy. It's good. So to get back to the story. Boy, those side, what do you call them? Sideboards, whatever. I really can get it. Well, look at all this debris here. Yeah, we really had some stuff go blow down. But anyway, I went up, got the engine, brung it back. About a 6-hour trip, 7-hour round trip, 7-hour round trip up 75, all 75 north. And got it back. I had built a run stand out of wood, put it on there, and first thing I did was run a compression test. And sure enough, cylinder 1, zero compression. The other 5 cylinders were above 100, so they were fine. Actually, they were usable. But that did in one cylinder. So I determined that it wasn't the valves, okay? How you do that is when you're doing your water, look at all this debris. There's a lot of it. When you do your compression test, you do your first one dry, all right? And then to determine if it's rings or valves, you put some oil in the cylinder to see if it increases. If it increases, that pretty much tells you, it helps the rings seat. That tells you the rings are warm. If there's no change, it tells you it's in the head. The valves are the head. Well, the valves are opening and closing. And with my experience with the 216 prior, with the burnt valves, I figured, well, I probably got burnt valves. So I went ahead and pulled the head, found out that it wasn't the valves. Although I did have the head rebuilt, there was a hole blown in the piston. That's why there was no compression in that cylinder. Thankfully, you know, detonation had to have done it, and what caused the detonation probably was too lean a fuel mixture, or he tried a different carburetor or something. Wow, a lot of debris down here. That guy's cleaning the fence road. And whatever, the hole, and I'll put a picture up here. You can see. Anyway. So, when they said, well, let's put this thing on the engine stand and let's see what else condition it's in. Well, the cylinder, that cylinder even wasn't scarred bad, okay? Just what I would call normal wear and tear. So that was a good thing. The rest of the cylinders look good. But the bearings were shot. The rod bearings especially. A rod bearing, if you don't dog your engine bad, your rod bearings would normally go out before your main bearings, because they absorb more abuse. But on the flip side, if you're doing a lot of hole shots, really dogging your engine, you'll blow your mains out too. My mains were shot with what I would call a high mileage normal wear and tear. It was the rod bearings. They were wore down to the base metal. They wore down past the tin, past the copper, into the base metal. So I sent the crank off to have it checked and machined if necessary. The head I sent off to a shop down in Chattanooga that rebuilt it. I don't know if they're still open, but they rebuild. I don't care what kind of head they do, any kind of head down there. And I had a local machine shop do my block, and to clean it up, they had to bore it 60,000 over. Okay, that's how war it was. In the head, I had them put hardened valve seats because I was going to be running it on modern, no lead gas. And new valves, springs. I mean, the only thing that wasn't new was the casting. Everything else new. You know, they just rebuilt the head. While I was researching how I wanted it to put it back together, I decided to go with a hotter cam. Now, a lot of old timers, they would call the cam I went with a 3/4 race cam, meaning the full race cam I'm going to assume is not streetable. Or it'd be hard to be streetable. But I went with and what it is, it's the duration on the exhaust is 264. It's got slightly more lift, more duration on the intake and exhaust valves, and the lobe separation is different, and the from stock, and the valve overlap is a little more because of the lobe separation. Now, the outfit I bought the cam from, I decided to go with, it was called Patrick's Stove Bolt Parts. And Patrick himself was starting to get a little long in the tooth. And I'm probably one of the last customers to get a full rebuild kit from him without any problems. I'll show the magazine, the specs he listed for the cam in the magazine. He had one that was one more that was radical. He called it a rumpy. I didn't want that because, in my opinion, if you're sitting there, if you're not going to race an engine, why have an engine that's going to sit there and beat its bearings to death? There's no sense in it. My opinion, but hey, that's just me. So I took the one right in the middle. Now, back in the day, the Chevy six-cylinder, they raced them because it was before the 265 V8. So So this six-cylinder was Chevy's engine of the day. And one thing they would do, if they wanted to hop up a 235, is when the 261s came out. I think they came out in like 58, 59, somewhere in there. They had a slightly hotter cam because the 261 had a larger carburetor, and it had, of course, it had more bore and stroke. Now, kind of tie the story in for performance-wise. The first 2 years of the Corvette Stingray, of course they didn't call them Stingray, they called them Corvettes. They had the 235 engine in them. They didn't have it. I mean, the 265 hadn't come out yet. So they put the six-cylinder 235 engine in them, and they put a hot cam. Now it ends up that hot cam is very similar to the stock 261 cam they came out later with in the 261. Of course, but the 261 wasn't around in them days. And they also had 3 one-barrel carburetors. They listed that engine at 150 horsepower. Okay, so it had a hot cam, dual exhaust, and 3 one-barrel carburetors. And that's what the Corvettes had for the first 2 years of their existence. And then they went to the 265, then the 283, 327, etc. Anyway, so that 261 cam, or the specs for it, was the hot cam setup for the 235 engine. Now, this cam I've got in this is a little more radical than that, even. And if I idle this, normally a 235, you would idle it at around, well, let's say 450 to 550 RPM, 450 to 550 RPM. That's the normal idle for a 235 engine. One barrel, single exhaust. I can't idle this engine down that low because it gets too rumpy. It's got the thump. To me, that's hard on the bearings. Now, if I want to go to a car show and kind of show out a little bit, I may would back it down. But since I've got twin carburetors, it's not the easiest thing to do. A lot of guys out cleaning up debris on the road. So, all that said, I've got this hotter cam in this engine, and when I first fired it up and got it running, I broke it in on my run stand. I did it with a single barrel, the Rochester carburetor that came with it, one barrel. Well, you can tell it was underperforming with that carburetor. So I purchased a dual carburetor intake manifold, and purchased another Rochester B, one barrel. So I put twin one barrel Rochester Bs. Now the thing is with going with twin carburetors, you want them to be the exact same model, okay? The exact same. All through the manufacturer timeline of the Rochester B, they changed. I mean, there's probably 100 different versions of it. Well, these two didn't match, and I could never get it to perform to the level I wanted. If I could get it to idle good and do low speed, it would stumble high speed. If I could get it to work good, accelerating in high speed, didn't work good low speed and idle. I just couldn't get it ironed out. I was changing jets, so I ended up going with a fellow called Tom Langdon, Stove Bolt Parts, and now he's semi-retired now too. I think he still has his online store, but I don't, he doesn't carry near what he did before. And so I got in touch with him, and I purchased two Carter Weber 3232 progressive 2-barrel carburetors. These same carburetors they put on Pintos, Ford Pintos, Ford Escorts, and some Japanese cars use these carburetors. They were pretty common. Ford called them a Motorcraft 740, Model 740. Anyway, and I had to get two adapters so they bolt to that intake manifold. I got the linkage and the air cleaners. Yeah, bolted it up. And man, oh man, you're talking about an improvement. I mean, right out of the box, this engine just purred with them two carburetors. Now, a lot of purists, they don't like these carburetors because they're newer. They aren't period correct. Well, the sad fact of the matter is, I could find these two carburetors at a good price, where I couldn't find two exact matching Rochester B's or Carter. Oh, I forgot the Carter had a replacement carburetor that reportedly was better than the Rochester B's. And YL maybe? I have to look it up. Maybe it'll come across the screen. But that Carter carburetor, I couldn't find two of either to match or work as well as these two ended up doing. So I'm with these two. I love them. They work great. The only drawback I have with them, yes, there's a drawback, is that these, at the time there was an option to get manual or automatic chokes, and I decided to go with the automatic chokes. I now wish I would have went with the manual. These cool off pretty quickly. If I park this truck for a half an hour, it's cooled off to the point where it will kick on high idle with those automatic chokes, and it won't immediately kick off. I've got to let it idle at high idle for a minute perhaps before it'll kick off. Now, of course, you can say, well, Dave, just adjust them. Okay, well, they came out right in the cusp of the emission control days, so there's no they riveted what would be the three adjustment screws or rivets, and the actual plate that you'd rotate to richen or lean out the choke has got a tab on it, and there's a tab on the housing of the carburetor that locks them together, and you can't adjust it. In other words, if I to adjust it, I'd have to cut them tabs out and drill out the rivets, which there's no problem to drill out the rivets, but I don't want to cut them tabs. I mean, I don't want to change the modification too much, so I'm kind of at that conundrum. Then I decided, well, you know what? It's an ice cold starting and warm up. It's perfect, and that's what you set your chokes to. I start messing around with the chokes. They probably won't work good ice cold. So that's kind of my conundrum. So to me, the best fix is to go back to manual and reutilize the manual choke knob cable right here to do it. I had no problems with that 216 in Rochester B with the manual choke on that 216 when I finally pulled that engine. The fuel delivery was fine on that engine. What was the problem with that 216 engine, and I've not tore it down even though I still have it, that is wore out. It had blow-bys so bad that it had blow-by so bad that I would smell like an oil refinery after driving the thing around. I mean, you could see the steam and the smoke coming up through the vents in the valve cover. Now, you can't cover them vents because you got to allow fresh air to get into the engine, all right, so it can flush it out. You got to have crankcase ventilation, all right? Well, it poured that, and that wasn't the only problem that you get with all that blow-by. Another problem was I got a lot of condensation from that blow-by, and it would never burn it totally out. So if you pulled the oil filler cap out, you can see that white, milkshake looking residue, all right? And if you pull the valve cover, the first 4 valves closest to the radiator would be coated in that stuff. Now, I never had a leak. I never had an antifreeze leak or nothing like that. It was just some condensation and blow-by. So the engine was just wore out, totally wore out. So, but there was nothing wrong with the carburetor. Now, the Rochester B carburetor that's on the 216 engine is slightly smaller than the Rochester B that's on the 235 engine. And it's mainly the base plate where it bolts up, because you got a bigger hole in the manifold, intake manifold, so you got a bigger venturi and base plate to match up. The 261 Rochester B is even bigger. So, and then you got manual chokes, automatic chokes. You had different types of accelerator pump circuits. I mean, there was just enough differences where, like I said, there was like 100 different versions of that carburetor. So I'm running now those twin carburetors. They work fine. I don't, knock on wood, and I average around 15 miles per gallon. So it's not bad for us. Oh, and I've got dual exhaust. I mean, I've got Fenton cast iron headers, twin header, dual exhaust headers on this, and a Fenton dual intake manifold. So anyway, if I had my druthers, I would probably change out the intake manifold to an offing house, because it spaces the carburetors closer in towards the center, and I could put the cross beam back up to help support the driver's side fender, the left side fender here. You got two support braces, and they do matter. You can see where it's since my rear carburetor is blocking me putting that rod in. You can see where my front fender has grooved a little bit. There's no danger of it coming off or anything. It's just drooped some. So those braces do something. Anyway. Wow! Did he make it? Yes, he did. Squirrel. Anyway, let me look and see if we're still recording. Yep, looks like it. Did a good deal. truck out on this part of the cruise for quite a while. This cruise I'm doing will put about 60-65 miles on it. And the good thing about that, it'll heat up the oil good enough to burn off all condensation and byproducts of short runs. So it's good to get them out and run them for at least an hour. You know, get them running good so they can circulate the oil and burn off all the bad byproducts. So anyway, of course, I've done totally replaced every brake line in this truck, hard and soft. New brake shoes, brake hardware. Had to redo the interior. This brown, see, stock, the interior was brown on these trucks, and this is called a hammered brown. This color. And it matches close to what the OEM was. I got one of those cheap cardboard headliners, but I kind of butchered it up, putting it in, so I need to replace that one day. My seals are shot, I need to replace them. It needs some body work, and that's a skill I don't have. I've knocked a bunch of dents out. I'm wanting to keep the patina, but it's I haven't made it look worse, thank goodness, but it's a long way from looking good, in my opinion. So I'd like to get the body work done. I'm running radial tires, 16-inch, and I'll put a link to the type I've got, and they're on the stock rims with no inner tube, and they hold air fine, okay? My spare is the original bias ply spare, and it's cracked all over the place, but it's holding air, so it's good enough for a spare at this particular time. I'm going to have to redo the bed. I put some tongue and groove old paneling wood on the back, but I want to put it back to stock looking. Got this window pane here, need to replace it. There's a lot. Lee, the original owner, when he bought this truck, of course it didn't have a radio. That was optional. Didn't have a heater. That was optional. And he paid the dealer to install a horn, okay? And that cost him a total of $5. That covered the horn and the labor to install it. The horn and the relay and the labor to install it. And he had a bypass oil filter installed, and that cost, I think, $15. He went with 650 16s, which was the optional tire on the truck, instead of 615s. Well, that's the options he got. Now, he bought it in the summertime, and when winter started hitting, they determined, hey, I'm going to go back to the dealer and buy the heater package. But instead of having the heater, the dealer put it in, him and his sons installed it. It was what was the name brand? It was a very popular brand. I'll put it across there. They installed it. They installed the valve. You had a on and off a water like spigot valve on the engine to turn your hot water on. And it was a 6-volt fan. And it was a recirculating heater. It worked great. When I got the truck running, that heater was still in this truck, and still, after I froze the locked up electric motor, it still worked. In other words, the original heater core worked, did not leak. And I kept it in this truck until I decided I was going to put this deluxe fresh air heater in. So I started getting parts together and rebuilt fresh air heater and installed it. And I had to buy a new core, and I bought a new 12-volt electric motor for the squirrel cage, the blower. And knock on wood, it works real good. But I didn't have a Ranco valve, so I rigged up my heat control here. Here's my fan. I don't know if you can see it. Here's my fan speed. I got high, medium, low, and off. And then this valve here is what opens the closes the hot water valve there on the inner fender that I showed you earlier. Since I've had all this done, I had a subscriber send me. He was upgrading his truck to a new modern heating and air system. I think it was a idle air or classic air combination heat and air conditioning. And he had a Ranco valve, and he just sent it to me. I thank you very well. His name across here. And I've got to rebuild it, and there's instructions on YouTube how to do it. The parts are available to do it, so I just need to do it. Now what it does, you still have your separate fan control, but you got a knob and you set, kind of like in your modern car, how much heat you want, and it's got a temperature probe that you put down underneath the dash, and then it adjusts the amount of hot water it'll allow to flow through the valve to maintain that temperature setting you got on there. Pretty slick. And that was an option in 49. Now this is just a 3-window cab, so the deluxe 5-window cabs may have had that option, put in, An option also back in the day was turn signals. But this truck had the one tail light / brake light on the driver's side back there in the back. And it was also your tag light. That was it. No turn signals. That was how trucks came in 1949. Like I say, this was a farm truck. They throw bags of fertilized feed on the hood, when they fill the bag up. This was a working truck. Now he's just a cruising truck. Like me, and I don't want to work hard either. It's still got the stock 3-speed transmission, torque tube, and 411 rear end. Okay, it's all the same drivetrain that was molded to the 216. I may post a video, a little clip of me running this up to 80, and the speedometer was bouncing on 80. And I've taken it out on the interstate, but I don't make it a habit of, because this drivetrain was not designed to spin that fast. Now the engine, I could put a modern drivetrain to this engine and have no problem running interstate. Matter of fact, one of the modifications a lot of people do, and the kits are still available, you can get a 355 ratio ring and pinion and put in this same housing. And that will lower your RPMs enough to where you could go on the interstate, right? But I'm not, I'm not interested in taking this on the interstate, so I have not opted to do that modification. I should, because one day those parts are going to be unobtainium. So sometimes I think about getting parts now for my future and plus future generations. This truck is kind of a, since it was part of my wife's extended family, I'm never going to sell it or trade it. And she doesn't want me to, and I've been offered some pretty good money for it. I've turned down some pretty good money for it, 5 figures. That's right, boy. I don't know what he's standing there looking at, but he made some. But no, sir, I'm not interested in selling it. And I'd like to be able to, I'd like for my future generations to enjoy it too. But what they do with it, there won't be, I'm not going to care. I'm not here, I'm not going to care. But I'm going to see to it that they get the choice of it. Anyway. So that's kind of the story. I've had it maybe 20 years, close to 20 years. It took me about a year to get it running. Because I actually had another little car that I was rebuilding at the time. So this became another project that I got to eventually. So I've highly enjoyed it. Now I'm in the area. I'm about 30 miles out from my home. And this is the area where this truck was a daily driver back in the 40s and 50s up till it was retired in 69. So it's kind of like it's like this truck's got autopilot. This civilization, because people are a whole lot more civil out this way than they are in the big city, close to my place. Anyway, this has been a great cruise. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you like my little story. And I guess we'll go ahead and tune out now. I got about 3 more miles till I hit my hacienda. And it's real curvy, so I won't have a free the next one. We'll close from a short little finale from a previous video around a Christmas time a couple years ago when we actually had a white Christmas.